All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod post game from downtown Portland, Maine, where the Maine Mariners win 5-3 over the Worcester Railers, keeping their ever so razor thin playoff hopes alive tonight. We did hear that Reading did get 2 points in a looks like a crazy shootout tonight as well, so they didn't help us out, but. Yeah, pretty exciting game, pretty physical game. You would say that. Obviously two teams that know each other so very, very well. Looking at the game sheet on this one, everybody, let me just pull that back up here. Maine getting the better, actually, sorry, Worcester getting the better of the shots 29-25. Maine had been leading in shots, but of course, Worcester really dominating that third period as they were trying to come back. But shots for Worcester, 6 in the first, 9 in the second, and 14 in that third period. Maine with 11, 10, and 4 for 25. Power play here. Worcester 1 for 6, Maine 2 for 6. So whole bunch of action in that penalty box. A very, very chippy game. Scoring here, McCallum with his 23rd of the year gets it started in that first period. Thompson and Hudson. We'll hear that name again with Tristan gets on the board first. Worcester answers big time in that second period with Kaplan and Colburn getting goals there to make it 2-1. Maine with a very good answer, something we haven't seen enough of out of this team this year. They get down and they kind of continue to fall all over themselves, and that didn't happen. They continued to push. They stuck with it. DeVoe answering with his 15th of the year. Thompson again with McCallum assisting on that power play goal. Kalmakov answers right after that with his 17th. Sarlo and Thompson again. And then going into the third period, it's Hudson with McCallum and Thompson assisting. Sarlo with the fifth goal, making it 5-2 at that point, his 12th of the year. Lampa with his helper there. Klee does get one at the 15-20 mark to make it 5-3, just enough for Worcester to pull their goaltender with about it was about 3:15 or so left in the game uh, when they uh, when they pulled that goalie. Looking back though at that first period, Worcester really, I thought played a more physical period. However, I thought Maine played a more precise period. Had the better looks. Had I thought the more precise energy in that first period. They stayed disciplined. I thought for the most part against some of that more aggressive play from Worcester. Definitely, was a physical chippy game. You end that period though 1-0 for Maine. With the heavy shots are 11-6. Looking at the second period, bad first 5 minutes for Maine. Worcester really pushed and got those two goals. Maine had a kind of a bad penalty in there and just a little undisciplined there those first few minutes. But as I just said, great energy coming back after that. I thought they answered that very, very well after they gave up those two goals. Love the pushback. Love that stick with itness mentality that they had tonight. Again, haven't seen enough of that this year. They do have a big PK that they kill out there towards the end of that period. And again, the longer this game went, the chippier it got. Right, it was, as a fan, pretty exciting. Sitting up here in the box. I'm not sure how much fun it was on the ice, but it was of course. You end that second period. Actually, it was Rapace and DeVoe, the two captains, stayed out on the ice in that intermission for a little while, talking to the refs. So you knew there was a whole lot of chatter going on. And then going to that third period, of course, what I loved about this is Maine took an attack mode mentality with the lead. Again, something you haven't seen enough of this year. They did not sit back on their hands, and they were able to kind of maintain the chippiness and some of the physical play. Only three officials on the ice tonight. We know that half the games is four, other half are three. There were a couple of, I think, 50-50 calls that Maine was able to take advantage of tonight, where I just think that, Worcester's physicality maybe got the better of them, but I do think Maine maybe, just maybe got a little break or two here or there in that third period. Um, and of course, it's that with 3:15 left, they have to kill off a 6-on-5, which does become a 6-on-4. And during that time, Worcester was buzzing. They were creating, really controlling the puck. Maine had a couple of icings in there where they couldn't change, but they did enough, to muddy up the middle of the ice. Arvey stayed very sharp till the end. Great to see him get a good win, and actually even took a shot at the empty net, trying to channel his inner Linus Allmark there with 13 seconds to go. Gets to about center ice before it gets tapped out. Um, but Maine, of course, getting this win, getting the VIP Rivalry Cup as well with that sixth win, and again keeping the razor thin playoff hopes alive. Thompson with the first start tonight, 4 assists. What an awesome night for him. So good to see that. Adirondack coming to town for the rest of the weekend. 6 p.m. puck drop back here at the Cross Insurance Arena tomorrow night. And we're going to do one last check on the Hockey East final before I let you all go. If I can get an update. Now, I may be a little behind, but it's still showing 4-1 Maine with 6:51 to go. My internets may not be working great here, but let's hope that the UMaine Black Bears can finish that off and get that Hockey East championship. What a great way to set up for the national tournament. I'm going to get myself out of here, everybody. Hope you all have a wonderful evening.